Yarn. All right. I do believe we are live. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
All right. Yes, welcome to the Midnight Society Book Club. We are gathered here today to discuss, where's my little thing, to submit for the approval of the Midnight Society, Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams.
Yes.
We're going to be discussing this today. We'll have a non-spoiler section at first. I will let y'all know before we get into spoilers, in case you want to get out of here, you haven't finished yet, or you haven't read it. But yeah, hopefully in the non-spoiler section, it will give you an idea of, if you haven't read it yet, whether you want to or not. So there's that. And I also want to say before we get into it really quickly that July's book club pick, I'm going to announce that real quick, is going to be Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I did in the last quarter, I did a book that I had already read and loved, which was Misery by Stephen King. And I wanted to bring in some Gillian Flynn because we haven't heard her name in a minute. And I know there's some people that haven't read this one yet that maybe read Gone Girl. But this one also for July's book, it's going to be perfect for the summertime, sweaty in the South. And it just gives good vibes for summer. So I'm excited to, for anyone who hasn't read this yet, for this to be your opportunity to get introduced to it because it's such a good one and I love it. Okay. And that being said, I want to introduce my co-host. This is Alyssa. And she's from the Stories and Spoilers podcast, which she will tell you a little bit about. So if you don't mind, Alyssa, will you just tell us, about yourself, about your channel and your podcast and what kind of books you like to read? And then if you can think of it, what it was the last 5-star book that you read?
I can definitely do that. Thank you so much for having me, Elizabeth. I've been a huge fan of your YouTube for ages. So this is a huge happy moment for me. I also love Sharp Objects. I love that book.
Nice.
So I saw you pull it up and I was like, oh yeah. So my name is Alyssa. I'm the host of Stories and Spoilers, the podcast. And I absolutely love talking about books from horror, romance, sci-fi. I also have always been that person in the movies where I will go to a book to film adaptation and I'll see it on screen and I'll be like, oh, that wasn't in the story. I lean over to my mom and be like, this is actually what happened. And I've always been known as a person who spoils things, which can be annoying, or for someone who's never going to read the book, I've had friends be like, I'm not going to read it. So I would just tell them what happens. So my podcast is all about half of the episodes are non-spoiler. I give you a spoiler warning. And then the rest of the episode is a deep dive of what happened, character casting, my favorite quotes, my oh my golly wally, crazy moments that blew my mind. I also have tons of author interviews from just across genres. I have a lot of really fun ones coming up. I interviewed the editors from Never Whistle at Night, Volume 2. So that's coming up this summer for Summerween. I also have some romance authors I've spoken with, some friends. If you ever want to find out what everyone's favorite books of the year are from across the book genre, I interview people from Instagram and I get their top books of the year so far, so you can get recommendations. So that is what I do on the pod. Yeah, that's me. But I've really been getting into my thriller horror vibes this summer. So this was the perfect claustrophobic read. I didn't read Last Stop just yet, or No Exit. I didn't read the author's book No Exit.
Okay.
I don't know. I tried it a few years ago and it wasn't for me, but I heard about this one and my worst fear is spelunking. So when you reached out to me, I was like, it's a match made in heaven. This is something I would never do. So
nice.
Yeah, I have a really big fear of confined spaces. So especially dark confined spaces. This was fun.
Yes, it's pretty perfect for you actually.
Oh yeah.
So what was did you mention what was the last book that you read that was 5 stars?
Yeah. So the last book that I read that was 5 stars, I actually just finished this morning. And it is a dark romance. But it when I say dark, it's very dark. And it's called it's from the series called Total Chaos. And the first book is called Loving a Vampire is Total Chaos by Aurora Hayes. It is about a vampire who is a serial killer. He only kills bad people, Dexter style. And He is a serial killer by night, and by day he's this like redhead. He wears glasses. He tries to play very quirky and shy. He's a very sunshiny person, but deep down he has
vampire.
He is a vampire. He's been alive for a very long time, but he's like optimistic all the time. And he falls in love with a criminal investigator. He sees her come to his crime scenes and he's like, ooh, she's adorable. And he falls in love with her. He gets random jobs around the city so he can bump into her. And she's aware he's full of shit. It's a very good book. And you get both of their points of view. So it's good. It's good. It was a fun read. It really was. So I like that. I like unhinged characters.
Is it kind of funny too?
It is. It's fun. He's very self-aware. She is the more grumpy version, and he's the more optimistic person.
Oh, so grumpy sunshine.
Yes, but like to the max. Yes, like her dad has Alzheimer's, so for her, she has a lot of responsibility on her shoulders. And her dad was a cop, so that's part of the reason she is the way she is. She is kind of guarded, and then the man who happens to fall in love with her is this very optimistic, positive person, but he also has this darker side to him that he justifies. It was very, but it had a lot of funny moments. She's a black cat named Midnight who hates her but loves him.
Oh.
He kills her neighbor because the neighbor says something shitty about her in passing, so he kills him. He throws him out a window. So yeah, it's a really it's like I said, it's a dark.
Your cat was named Midnight?
Midnight. My cat is named Midnight. He's all black. And in this book, there's a black cat named Midnight.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And book two's been pretty good, too. I love reading a book that has something in my own life in it. I don't know. I like a good unhinged character. But I don't read romance all the time. I love thriller. I love horror. I just need something fluffy in between sometimes. So, yeah.
I get that.
It's a little bit about me. That was my last 5-star I read. I'm already on book 2. It leaves off on a really good cliffhanger for another couple, so I had to go for it. But yeah, that was Loving a Vampire is Total Chaos by Aurora Hayes, and it's on Kindle Unlimited if you have that. So yeah,
nice.
It's fun. It's fun and it's short. Like it took no time at all. So yeah,
cool.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm also looking forward to I don't know if you've heard, but word on the street is that Geneva Rose is releasing a new anthology soon. It's called Sometimes I Scare Myself. And it's a horror anthology, and I'm so excited to read it. It's like short stories, but I cannot wait to read that.
Is the author of a thriller, right? What is her?
Yes, she actually has a pattern similar to Gillian Flynn and similar to this story, which we can touch on in spoilers, but this author does the same thing in her books by chance. She wrote The Perfect Marriage, Home is Where the Bodies Are, You Shouldn't Have Come Here, and One of Us is Dead, along with a few others. But I will say her audiobooks are very good if you like a good twist. So this book is coming out in September, and I know it's going to be a 5-star because I like her dark humor. Yeah, and I like how she writes women. So Sometimes I Scare Myself is another one coming out soon. I'm excited to read.
I feel like I've read one of hers and I don't know. I know I own The Perfect Marriage, but I don't think I've read it. I think I might have read one of her other ones, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, a personal favorite is One of Us is Dead. It's set in a small town. It has multiple POVs from different women in the small town. And if you like Big Little Lies, similar. And it's set in like a salon, like a beauty salon. So you get a little bit of everyone's like secrets in pieces, and then someone dies but you don't know who. It's very good. I have to say the audiobook was like great to listen to if you're like washing dishes or you're running errands. Like you can still pay attention, but it did remind me of like a darker Big Little Lies.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've got queer rep in that, so that's fun too. Love that.
It doesn't look like I actually have read any of her books, but I've seen them around. I recognize it, obviously.
Yeah, she's great. I like the way she writes women. I love it. I absolutely adore it. So I hope you check out her books. And You Shouldn't Have Come Here was also underhyped. Like I thought that was also very well done. So
cool. All right, well, I want to play a little icebreaker game.
Okay.
I am going to just give you a synopsis. I think they all have to do with caves. Or no, they're not all to do with caves. Okay, you're right. They're just like random things. And this is going to be testing your panic scale. So we're both going to rate them based on a scale from 1 to 10. And hold on, I think I have a banner for this. Okay, yeah, here.
Okay.
The scale from 1 to 10, 1 being mildly stressful and 10 being I would simply perish. Okay. So we're just going to do a few for fun. All right. So let's see.
I'm an anxious person, so I don't stand a chance.
Tube water slides where it goes completely dark. Ooh. You know what I mean? Like when it's like
I give out like a 4.
You can't see where you're going.
Yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna do a 4. Yeah, I'll do a 4. It's stressful.
Yeah,
but it's not like I'm gonna perish.
Yeah, I'd say probably 4 or 5 too. Okay, yeah. How about stuck in a sleeping bag and the zipper won't unzip?
1.
Yeah, that was not
too
1.
Bad. That's a worst case scenario. If you have something sharp, you can just cut through all the material. It'll take a while, but you can do it.
Okay, well then, so how about stuck in a crawl space under a house or having to crawl under a house?
This escalated so quickly. That's gonna have to be a solid 8.
Okay, yeah. Very much like this same claustrophobia fear.
Yes, also because there's a horror movie that touches on that. It's and I also love a good horror movie. It's a horror movie that has like dolls, and it's called, oh my gosh, it's like the dolls, you have to like the mimes, you have to open the back and they speak, like you speak through your voice. Anyway, there's an old lady who's under the house and she's trying to yeah, it's like ventriloquism. And long story short, there's like a spooky tale. This old woman goes under her house because she's like losing her memory. So she goes under her house and her husband ends up going down there to get her. And it turns out that like something's down there when he goes to get his wife.
Oh no.
Spooky. So that's gonna have to be a solid 8. I don't know. I would have to evaporate out of there.
All right. What about a tiny Airbnb shower with the curtain touching you?
Like a 6. Like a 6.
That one's not too bad, but I would be uncomfortable, especially
if it's mine?
Curtain.
Yeah, the curtain, like if the curtain's touching me, I can like move away.
Yeah, and you can't no, because it's too tiny.
Yeah.
Okay, what about one of those trendy sensory deprivation float tanks? Do you think you would like that?
10. No.
I feel like I would really enjoy that. I've never tried it though.
I'm scared they would forget me in there. No. Final Destination, they would leave. I feel like someone would clock out, forget I'm there, have earphones, I'm screaming, they can't hear me. Boop, it's a 10. I would perish. I'd be like a pickle. I'd be lost in the water. No. Or something would grab me in the darkness. No. I'm out. No.
All right. No. Last one. What about you're stuck in the elevator? What level of panic is that for you?
I'm gonna have to say it's a 10. Yeah. Because once again, I know a horror movie that I have a horror movie for every situation. That is Devil. That is Devil. The like 2018 or 2017. Yeah. That's Devil. I would be stuck in the elevator with someone who ends up being the literal carnation of something horrible. Just my luck. Yeah, no, I'm out. I'd have to crawl through the ceiling, and I probably wouldn't even survive that. I'm sure. Nope. What about you? What would you do?
It depends how long I was in there. I think I'd be chill at first, but like the longer I was stuck, I would probably get more and more anxious, you know. And if I couldn't like contact anybody and I don't know if anyone's coming to like help, I'd probably get pretty worked up at that point. But not just I don't think I have a claustrophobia thing. Like I don't mind being in tight spaces. In fact, I feel like I'm being hugged in tight spaces, you know. For the most part, but I don't know that I would like spelunking either. But that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the book. So
Okay.
we're reading Her Last Breath. And again, we're still in non-spoilers here. So I will let y'all know when we get into spoilers. Alyssa, are you comfortable with giving or just reading the synopsis
I
for
can do that.
the free synopsis in case
Yeah.
anyone knows what it's about?
Yeah, I can do that. I have the synopsis from Goodreads. And this is Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams. Overall, a lot of people rated it of 4.6 stars, got like 23,000 ratings and 4,000 reviews. So the description is, after years of excuses, Tess has finally agreed to go caving with her best friend, Allie. Their lives have diverged sharply since high school. Allie is a self-made travel influencer, while Tess is a shy and claustrophobic legal assistant struggling to pay for law school. Maybe she's a little jealous of Allie's globe-trotting life. Who wouldn't be? As Tess and Allie descend into the depths, they realize they're not alone. A stranger who claims to be a fellow cave diver harasses them. Confident, take no shit Allie insults the guy, and he retaliates. Soon, Tess is trapped inside a narrow crawl space, hundreds of feet underground, fighting to stay alive. 24 hours later, a hospitalized Tess recounts her harrowing story of survival, and the detective interviewing her shares a new shocking secret about Allie's true past. Together, they begin to suspect the brutal attack wasn't random at all. Who was Allie really? Why did this man target them? And did Tess really leave the danger behind when she escapes the cave? It's 323 pages, and it was published February 17th of this year.
Nice. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay. So we both read the book. We both finished the book. That was the synopsis. Let's go ahead and get our ratings out of the way. And then we can go from there. If you're watching live, let us know what you rated this as well. If you did read this. And I will let you go first. No, you go first.
Yeah. So I originally rated it 5 stars. I brought it down to 4 when I thought about it a little bit longer. I still liked it, but I needed some time to like process the story.
Okay.
So I did end up giving it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable, and I liked that. What about you?
So I hate to say it, but I had a terrible reading experience with this book. And I think part of it is on me, honestly, because for some reason, I don't know if it was the cover or just my ignorance about spelunking, but I thought that they were underwater the whole time.
Okay.
Like I thought the whole cave was underwater. And so I was so confused. I literally read the first 30% like 3 times, tried to like figure out like, wait, what is going on? I think after the second time I caught on, I was like, okay, it's not all water. It's just like a cave.
Yeah.
But I kept trying, like, I felt like I couldn't picture it, like I couldn't get in there. Once it picked up, I had fun with it in the last like 60% when it started like unraveling. But I think I caught on to the twist, the main twist, like super early. And I'll tell you when we get into spoilers what gave it away for me. But I caught on to that super early, and I was like, I just saw it coming, I guess. So it didn't really like shock me.
Okay.
But I'm really glad that you enjoyed it because we can have both sides of the conversation here.
The audiobook added an experience for me. I read it on Everand, and
I did too, actually.
I think reading it as an audiobook helped. I just think that because you hear the voice of the investigator, she's supposed to be, I think, an older woman, so like the raspiness of her voice questioning Tess was interesting. And then hearing the tone of Tess and Allie when they were in the caves actively versus her tone when she was in the hospital really added to the experience. I'm a very visual, like when I read, I imagine it in my mind like a movie. So some books I'm like, oh yeah, I'll read the physical book. And some books I'm like, that must be better as an audiobook. And this was the one where I was like, with the interview element, I'm going to need the audiobook experience. And I'm glad I went that route because it does give you breadcrumbs along the way. And if you're listening and paying attention, like you'll catch it right away. I think the audiobook experience was the way to go. Do you feel like reading it physically maybe added to the low rating possibly?
I didn't read it. Well, I read most of it on audio.
Okay.
But I did have the physical book, but I did read most of it on audio. But I will say, like, this book traveled with me to Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Like, I started reading it on my vacation, and then I really didn't get to much of it then. And then this book came out on the lake with me. Like this book has seen some things. It's got a little water damage in here. I did read parts of it with my eyes, like when I was like on the lake and stuff. And I actually did enjoy it more, I think, when I was reading with my eyes, which is weird because I do think the audiobook was really well done. As someone who almost 100% listen to books. Like I very rarely read with my eyes. But yeah, I don't know. I think, well, in general, I think that it was a lack of character depth for me in the beginning, especially. Like I didn't really understand their relationship. And I think that was on purpose, right? Because of the things that are revealed later on. But at the same time, like for me, I need that to be emotionally invested in the characters and like care. So I think it was a little bit of that. It was a little bit of the fact that like I picture it in my head normally too, like a movie, and I couldn't do it. Maybe just because I've like never been caving. I don't know. But like I could not picture this in my head. And that's part of the reason it was like driving me crazy. Except when we get to later parts and it's like they're more on the details because those details are
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that like I love like true crime podcasts. So I have heard a few episodes about spelunking and like crimes related to hiking, to like people being out in an environment, abandoning people, harming people. So I will say that I was aware of spelunking and like caving prior. So I have kind of heard a little bit about that. I also like, as I was reading, I wrote down the tropes you can find in the story without spoiling it. So would it be okay if I shared some of those?
Of course, please do.
Awesome. Okay. So this is Taylor Adams' 7th book. The audiobook is around 10 hours. The physical book is around 323 pages. The tropes or the vibes you're going into when you read this is an underground setting, different points of view, plot twists, man in the cave, I choose bear. When it's like, would you choose a man or a bear? I choose the bear. So I made that note to myself. Folks keeping secrets, claustrophobic setting, air is running out. And this reminded me of the same, like visually, I made a note to myself that it reminds me of the same setting as the 2005 like British horror movie, The Descent, which is about a group of women who go down into the caves, like to go spelunking as a group, and something bad happens while they're down there. They are deep in the caves, and you see them go deeper and deeper and deeper in order to escape a certain situation. This reminded me of that in setting and in tone. So if you
I might have to watch that now, so I can get like a better picture in my head.
Yes, complicated female relationships, going spelunking, people who are experienced, people who are not. That has a paranormal element that to me was pretty realistic. Like there's certain parts of the world we do not know shit about, so that does not surprise me. And it also gives a certain element of like being trapped. Not only
is that like underwater though? Are they underwater?
There are scenes where they are in water. And I'll leave it at that. It's similar. It's similar to this book where like the deeper they go, the landscape inside the cave changes, all the nooks and crannies, and you still get that claustrophobic. My friend, are you really here for me, or is there like something else going on behind the scenes? You as the viewer are going in blind, similar to the women in the situation. They're going in, and the environment is changing around them. It was this was like the older sister version of Her Last Breath, but with a group of women. So very good. Very good. Nice. So that was kind of the vibes of Her Last Breath, but if you're going to put it on screen, and same setting, but complex female relationships in an intense situation. It's very good. And nice. British. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, this was not my favorite book by any means, but it was my first introduction to the author and his work. The way he writes women was also interesting to me. Like the way that they spoke to each other, the dialogue was the only thing that kind of stole a star from me. Was the way they spoke to each other. I was like, I would not talk to my best friend like that. Like sometimes they would speak to each other and I was like, I said how people speak. So I was like, okay, I can tell that this was written like not in a way where like you've actually heard a conversation between two people who have like a complex relationship. Yeah. Like this sounds like I secretly hate you. Like it was just, I was like, come on. I truly need, like, if you're obsessed with her, be obsessed with her. If this is your best friend in the world, you do anything for her, I need to feel that. And I did not necessarily feel that. So I was like, meow, meow. Yeah. But I love the investigator. She stole the show for me. I imagined like Viola Davis. That's who I imagined. Like I needed someone very like experienced. So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, you had mentioned something that I wanted to comment on and I forgot. As far as like the books of his that I have read, I started with No Exit and I loved No Exit. It was 5 stars for me. I did not read Hairpin Bridge, but I did read his newest one before this, I think, which was like The Last Word, or I have it somewhere.
Was it the one? Okay, so I've heard of The Last Word, where the girl writes a bad review of a book, and she thinks the author's like coming after her. She's in an isolated location. I have heard about The Last Word,
and I liked that one too. And I will say one thing that Taylor Adams is really good at is like slowing down time, and like I think most of his books all happen within like a couple of days or a day or two. Like it's never like a long period of time. It's like he stops in that moment and then like gets through, he parses out like every tiny little piece of it, you know? And so he's really good at doing that, at like kind of like stopping time.
Cool.
And like delving into situations like that, like in isolation. And he did that well in this one too.
I like how he gets into different perspectives. Didn't feel messy for me. Like when we were in certain people's perspectives, I feel like sometimes people can get into hot water with that. Like some authors, when they're writing so many perspectives, that it's hard to differentiate who is who. What are your motives? This feels random, or this doesn't go with like, how does this serve you? Like, what's the purpose? I will say that another reason I gave it 4 stars was because I was like, no, I knew exactly whose perspective I was in within that chapter. It was never unclear to me like who is who. That's what kind of also gave it away. I was like, I know like what motive, like what does this do for you? If you can't answer the question, then obviously someone's lying here. So you know, but it was good. I had a good time. I was like, okay, it's a fun little Friday read, a fun little like summer quick fix. So
yeah. All right. Well, staying in non-spoilers for just a little bit longer, let's talk about the like idea of the cave. And like, because I've seen so many good reviews of this book. Like I feel like people are loving this book, which is why I feel so guilty that I didn't love it as much. But the cave setting, like so many people are saying that it just felt so claustrophobic, and like they were, you know, their heart is beating and they're sweating while they're reading this and all that. And I didn't necessarily feel that. I think I felt a little bit more detached from that. But as someone who, like we have already said, like doesn't have that particular fear, and I have a lot of fears, and that's just not one of them. Yeah, I don't feel like I felt that much of it, but I do think that is part of the reason that so many people are loving this. And I assume you did get that out of it as well. What was your reaction to that?
Yeah. Did the cave setting work for me emotionally, and did I remain detached from it? I was able to imagine the cave from the movie I mentioned, The Descent. So I could imagine like I've gone cave diving with cousins before, similar to when you see like New Moon, you see the guys jumping off the rock into the water. I've done that when I was a stupid teenager. I've gone hiking with close relatives when we were very young and should have had an adult with us. I've been in a physical environment with people where there is like miscommunication. Some people in the group may not like you, and you're away from your like turf. You're away from your home base, so you already feel a little off kilter. I was able to pull those personal experiences. If anyone's ever gone like into a Girl Scout group and you wanted to make friends and you were a little jealous of certain people and maybe they were jealous of you. If anyone's ever had an experience where you feel left out and maybe a little resentful, like more so the cave to me felt like diving into someone's mind. It was more metaphorical for me. So even though I do not like spelunking, I don't like small spaces. I jumped into water. I didn't jump into a rock, but I will say like, I was able to imagine everything really clearly in my head. I was also able to imagine who Allie was. I can cast actors in my head when I read books. So for me, like Allie was a young, if you've ever seen The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, she was a young Blake Lively to me. That was Allie, the blonde influencer. She's naturally beautiful, kind of sporty. I was like, yeah, like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, like that energy, like the blonde, the tall. She can make her way through it. Yeah, I imagined a young Blake Lively, and then I imagined like Jenna Ortega. which gets mentioned in this story. Like she needed to be a little bit darker,
Yeah.
moodier. She had to be a little more fair. She had to be like more pixie-like. So that's why I imagined as Tess, you know, this Jenna Ortega character. So yeah, I was able to imagine that. The creepy guy in the cave. I imagined the guy from Yellowstone. Oh my gosh, he's one of the sons, but I imagine him as like the dirty blonde one. So yeah, so I was imagining kind of that. So it was clear to me. The cave was creepy because I know I'm actually taking a geology course right now for school. I'm in college, my senior year. So I'm taking a class about rocks. So I know that the environment of caves changes according to like rising tides. I know that rocks can obviously move and crumble if you push them. And so these people who shove their bodies between cracks and rocks in like small spaces, like your bones, like you can't like snake your way into certain crooks and crannies, like logically. And these environments can be slimy, can be dry, like the rocks degrade, like one wrong move and you're done and you're trapped. We can't get to you. So that for me was like, from what I'm learning in school and what I'm reading, I was like, no, logically, people have passed away in these situations. This is dangerous. So it was emotionally really stressful because I'm also sitting in my head like, real people have passed away. So I was like, the stakes are high. And I was more concerned for the girl she was with, like the people in the cave versus the actual, it was the environment being horrible. And then this friendship being like, what are you keeping from me? I love you and I hate you. Like Heather's vibes. You killed your best friend, but it's also like, also my enemy. Like, it's just that energy. Like, I love you, but also I despise you. Like Pretty Little Liars energy, like Allie versus everyone. That's what it felt like, you know? If you've ever seen Pretty Little Liars, this is the adult version of that in a cave. So yeah, it felt like that. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
And then as far as like, I felt like the pacing was actually pretty good. I felt like it was a little slow for me in the beginning, but like I said, the way he like kind of does storytelling, like how he like makes one moment feel like so long.
Yes, there are multiple scenes like that. I was like, make it stop.
Building suspense that way, you know?
Yeah.
And even though like I didn't feel the like hit of the twists, well, some of them still, like I'll tell you in a minute. We're gonna go into spoilers in just a second.
Okay.
But some of them I really like they still surprised me, even though it wasn't exactly what I thought, you know, but I was still a little bit like, oh, okay. But as far as the pacing goes, I felt like it was fairly fast paced. And I think that's what other people have been saying as well. Did you read it that way?
I feel like this could have been a really good short story. Hot take. I think this could have been done in like 100 pages.
Oh, okay.
Hear me out. It could have started with them immediately in the caves and the investigator and all that. I think that even though I love that element, it could have been told like her experience in the caves could have been like shortened. And then what's being told in like the evidence that we found, like as they get deeper and deeper into the caves, that could have been an interesting twist. That was the only reason the pacing for me was like, oh, because there were certain references you get in the story where I was like, what was the reason? And she's like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, like you're revealing your hand. So I was like, this would have been better. The same way as you're going into the caves and you see like the empty Coca-Cola cans, and then the deeper they go, the less things they see. I want to experience that faster. Like I want to go where it's like, as we go deeper into the caves, we find a discarded shoe, flashback. And then this is this. As we go deeper and deeper into the caves, we discover this, flashback. And then as the story comes to a close, it's like, then we can get the twist. And, you know, I think certain things gave itself away. And if the pacing was a little bit, if the writing was a little bit shorter, I think this could have been shorter, a little shorter, you know? So yeah, hot take. Could have been a little shorter. 10 hours, this could have been 2 hours.
I don't know if he could have gotten it done in 2 hours.
I think he could have.
I feel like it's already lacking the depth of character. And if it's that way, though, then it's going to be like I feel like you're not going to be invested at all in the relationship between them if it's shorter. Because
I don't know.
I was struggling with that with the length that it already is, but maybe it's like an editing thing too, and or like the way he chose to format it, because you are getting, you know, the interviews with the detective and Tess, and then as Tess is telling the story, like the way it's formatted is that she'll then go back in time, and then we'll get into the cave and see, and then we get back to the detective and Tess, and then we go back in the cave, you know. So
I don't know. She was so wordy with the description of the cave. And I was like, great. I know you're in a cave. I got you. But I was like, I need to be afraid of the people in the cave. And I wasn't afraid until like a lot later of people. I was like, okay, the environment is more terrifying than the people. Yeah. And I was like, I need to feel like a visceral. I'm like, I think he could do this. Certain things could have been cut down. I don't want to go into spoilers, but there are certain things that I think could have been cut down. So we could have maybe focused more on relationships. We could have focused a little bit more on like Allie's survival sense and like Tess's like discomfort. Like I never really felt like Tess was like, I don't know. I never really felt like I knew her. And I never really felt like I knew Allie. And I didn't really care about their past as much. I just wanted to know what was happening now. You know? So I was like, yeah. He I don't know. Like I said, hot take. But I was like, if you can't tell me, you're just showing me things. I'm like, but you can't tell me. Like you're leaving things out. And then the book ended, and I'm like, okay, certain things I was like, don't add it if you can't circle back, you know?
Yeah, and give a little more detail. I think I know what you're referring to.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's go ahead and get into spoilers.
Heck yeah. I'm trying so hard.
You're doing great.
Not to give anything away.
Okay, so we already moved into this. Anyone, if you have not read this book, if you do not want to be spoiled, this is now your time. I'm going to give you a minute to go ahead and exit out of here. And actually, I'm going to close my blinds real quick too, because it's getting incredibly insane. Hold on, here we go. Oof, it's like right in my eyeballs. Oh, that's so much better. So yeah, if you don't want to be spoiled, please exit now. You can come back and watch the repeat of it as soon as you finish it. Or if you don't care about being spoiled, then you're obviously welcome to stay. You're an adult. You can make your own choices. But we are now going to get into spoilers. And so we did kind of get into like the structure of it. So like we talked a little bit about that. So you think if he structured it differently, then it would have been more effective for you?
Yeah. I for folks who've read the book, as the interviews are going on, there are certain moments where Tess gives stuff away. And I was like, what do you mean by that? Like, and I get it. Like, part of the length for me, I wouldn't have minded 10 hours if every single second I'm like, I can't trust you. Every single second I'm like, I'm scared for you. I don't want you to get hurt. I never felt that way. Like, I was more like, make it make sense. Like, you're claustrophobic. You've mentioned that you don't like these spaces. Why are you going down there? Like, oh, because she's your best friend. Like, what she's asking you for years. Like, I needed more. Like, her saying like, oh, something's not right inside of me. I'm like, if you're gonna pull that card and you're gonna mention sociopathy, there are a lot of people who have sociopathy who aren't violent. So I think you need to flesh this out a little more if you're going to pull a certain direction. And to me, that didn't really get fleshed out. Like, she didn't say like I was diagnosed or like I had these things in my past. I was like, okay, make it make sense. If you're gonna do it, and do it right. If you're gonna build a character like that. And even with Allie, I was like, certain things about this character she does not want. Big things she does not want. And as I'm reading this book, certain things change, and I'm like, make it make sense. Like, make it make sense. These are big changes. So yeah.
I definitely agree with the like characterization of Tess. So we're in spoilers. We can say it.
Okay.
Tess the whole time has been telling the story as if Allie was the one working with Jacob,
right?
To kill her, when in fact she was the one working with Jacob to kill Allie.
Yeah.
So I initially what gave it away for me was he kept calling her the survivor when they were being interviewed with Detective Washington.
Yeah.
He's like, and the survivor said this. And I'm just like, if it wasn't like, so my initial thought is like, you're calling her the survivor for a reason because you're detaching Tess from this character and this story. So I'm thinking that she's not actually Tess, that she is Allie. Like in my head, I didn't think that she switched the story. I thought she like switched identities with her, that she was gonna like a detective Washington was gonna be like, oh, you are Allie. But that didn't happen. But it was close because she just like he kept saying the survivor said this to survivor. And so I was like, something's not right here. And that's when I first started getting suspicious of Tess. But supposedly Tess, so in their backstory that we get from like them growing up together, Tess came from a bad family, but we then find out that Tess poisoned herself, like with bleach or something.
She put bleach on her own back.
Oh, on her skin?
Yeah, and she did it over and over and over again to like build scar tissue. And to make it look like her mom, like she kept saying like, oh, my mom thought I was like a demon. She was trying to like exercise something out of me. I always knew deep down something was off. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, she grew up in such a abusive environment. She took on this thing of like something must be wrong with me. And then she meets Allie and Allie's like, this is wrong. And then Allie brings her into her home and they pretty much take Tess in. And that's when that like obsessive, you're my best friend, you know, as they become adults, like Tess ends up wearing Allie's clothes, like when she travels and she's not in the apartment, like just weird things. Like I love my best friend to the ends of the earth. I would do anything for her. But I also know we are individuals and I don't compare my life to hers. I don't want her life. I don't want certain things. For me, Tess had no strong principles or like strong character elements besides being fearful of a lot. And not having a lot of like remorse from the jump. Like there was very like, I choose me, I survive. So when they enter the cave initially and the creepy guy in the cave was like, oh, I work for this environmental group, but he has no name tag. He has no uniform. I was like, I call bullshit. Like you would have like a polo or you would have like a bag or a document, some shit. You would have something. And he was dressed normally. And like, he also had like a balaclava on, like he had the covering for the face. I'm like, if you're in a confined space and it's gonna get dark, why would you wear something that covers your entire mouth and most of your face? Also, like, we later find out that he's a veteran. I'm like, okay, another ballsy move. You're gonna make someone who's incredibly violent and alludes to harming women a veteran, which is once again, if you're gonna do it, you better make that important for the character. So Jacob's character, he ends up calling her baby girl. Like he implies he's like, I work for this environmental group, be aware of the bats. And the Allie ends up telling him like, fuck off, like we don't need your help. He tries to ask him, I can go to the cave, you won't be scared. Allie's a well-known influencer. So they try to allude to like, oh, maybe something bad happens because he was obsessed with her and he was targeting her. But he ends up calling Tess, in my mind, Jenna Ortega character, very quiet, like he ends up calling her baby girl, which I was very unique nickname. Not babe, not baby, not hot thing, like baby girl. I was like, this is not 365 DNI, good sir. He pulled in the corner, he's like, baby girl. I was like, no. You're not the guy from Lights Out. What is this? Not the genre, not the moment. Anyway, he ends up calling Tess. He's like, oh, you lost baby girl. He does something like that. And she's like, oh no. And Allie's like, shut the fuck up. Like, we're out. We're outie 5,000. Get the fuck out of here. She thinks, oh, you provoked him. And Allie's like, I don't give a flying fuck. Like, if you're nice, they're not going to take it. Like, you being nice is not going to change anything. Like, you have to tell them to leave. So since we're in spoilers, they end up like descending. Sorry, but they end up descending deep into the cave. Woo, woo, woo. And at first, Tess goes down. Hair gets caught in the like stringy thing that you zip your way down, and then cuts her way out. Oh my gosh, you're a survivor. Allie's like, oh my gosh, you're a survivor. It flashes back to them being in high school, friendship. Allie telling her to jump, like Allie being her cheerleader, and I'm like, okay, this could still be rooted in like the friendship element, the I love you element. But in my head, I was like, Allie comes down later. He ends up wearing this like red like light so he can see ahead. The Jacob, and they see the red light ahead, like up, and she's like, "Oh, maybe it's an illusion, this and that." And I'm like, once again, weird. And Allie goes up, doesn't see anything, and Tess goes. Once again, if you're a good friend, you'll let that girl go up there by her fucking self. No way in shit would I let my friend go up, even if she's experienced. I'd still be like, buddy system. I don't know where the fuck I am. And I'm not letting you go up there with a creepy guy who you just told to fuck off, and we're all alone. And your boyfriend's the only one who knows where we are, and Tessa doesn't like him. She doesn't like this guy, Evan, or whatever. So sorry, my nose is running. Anyway, she ends up going up there, and she's like, "Oh, there was nothing there." Allie's like, "Oh, there was nothing there." They get back down. They walk. Jacob finds them down there, and long story short, Allie's like, "Oh, take my money. I have this amount of money." Like, she throws her card. She has her GoPro on their helmets. She was an influencer. It makes sense she was recording. And long story short, he is like, "I don't want the money." His face was covered. He's like, "I don't want the money." And he ends up shooting Allie in the head. And I was also like, in a fucking cave? You have a gun in a cave? Like,
yeah, which he brings up too. Like, they burst their eardrums. But
yeah.
But we know now that it wasn't actually, it was Tess that he was aiming at, and Allie must have looked away, and then Tess just played dead. And then she thinks Tess is dead, but she's actually not.
So the POV flips, and yes, you end up, Tess was being interviewed. It's like, and then he shot Allie, and then I there was like a little corner she jumped into to descend to get away from him. Tess is telling the story. She's like, "Oh yeah, like he shot my best friend, and I looked away." And I was like, you looked away at the exact moment your friend got shot. Didn't take a moment of, holy shit. No, you who's afraid of heights, caves, and small spaces with no experience of diving was able to expertly hop down a hole? I was once again like, baby girl with strike one. Her bravery coming out of nowhere, like survival instincts. Fuck out of here. Like, you have no experience. For me, I was like, someone who has experience in this. The only person in the room who has experience besides Jacob who could survival mode is Allie. So we now know Tess acted like she the roles were flipped. Tess is the one who was shot. No. And Allie jumps down the hole. And now we know the investigator, we now know the end of the story, was aware of the bullshit the whole time. I liked when she said, Detective Washington was like, the killers like reveal themselves. I just give them a shovel. Like, they reveal themselves. I just listen.
She kept
I liked that.
Something that was like, never silence your enemy when they're like making
their own grave, or she's like, you're telling your own story, like you're giving yourself away. And I was like, yeah, if I didn't imagine Viola Davis as Detective Washington, I could have easily imagined like a Meryl Streep. Who could play a little bit more like meek, and then flip it and be like, "You're lying to me." I'm sitting here like, yes, she had to be like an older detective. Her superior is much younger than her. He's like, yeah, you're going to interview her. Her memory's kind of going, so she doesn't want to tell many people about that. So for me, I was a little concerned about her missing certain points because she mentions that her memory's a little troublesome. But I like that she had caught on pretty quickly. And as we follow the story, Jacob chasing her as things go along. I thought in the beginning he wanted the GoPro because the footage. I thought it was all because of the footage. But then when we get more into the nitty gritty of Tess being an assistant to Allie, managing some of her finances, law school is obviously very expensive. We know Tess does not, she came from a really dark time, and she came into Allie's life, and she mentions having financial struggle, I think. So I was like, okay, maybe she like skimming off the top. Is this like a white collar crime? Gotta kill her because I've been taking her money. At first, the detective was like, yeah, did you know that Allie is would have become a criminal? Like, there's lots of like red herrings. There are a lot of red herrings. Yeah.
Allie supposedly almost died not that long ago after
a snake bite.
And that came back into play. And then, but it turned out that Tess is the one that was taking money off the top.
Correct. Yeah.
Which was, okay, good twist. But then also, like, I don't know, because, like, you don't okay, we'll get more into it, but you don't really know who Allie is as a character because we're only getting it from Tess's perspective. You know, like I think there might have been like 1 or 2 chapters that we get from Allie when she's at the very end when she's like trying to decide which way she's gonna go out and all that.
So it's broken into parts. Like part 1 is Tess, part 2 is Jacob, part 3 is Allie, part 4 at the very end is Ethan, Allie's boyfriend, who Tess thinks is a dumbass, even though he's a doctor. Make sense. Like it was one of those things where I was like, don't include it if it has no value. You know what I mean? Like, don't include a whole character if like they only add value at the very, very end. I'm like, no. Like they need to hold value the whole time. I'm sorry. Like for that amount of, you know what I mean? They got to hold value. I was like, okay, what? Like, I was like, okay, Ethan's the only one at the top who knows where they are. Allie's boyfriend. Jacob is the creepy guy in the cave who we know has been in the story. It alludes like, oh yeah, like Allie had a secret affair and it was with Jacob, when we really know it was Tess who had this boyfriend on the side. Tess who had this boyfriend who is I bring up that he's a veteran, he's a former Marine, because he has the physical build and strength and the knowledge to be able to, as the story goes, like use a gun, use a knife, be in confined spaces, like follow her to a certain extent. He has the stamina for that. That makes sense. And he mentions like being paid for this job. Where's the money coming from? We later find out where the money's coming from Tess skimming off the top and for so long. She's like, well, Allie makes so much money, like she won't know. I beg to fucking differ. Like, she doesn't have tax paperwork? What the heck? Like, it was just one of those things where I was like, she travels all the time, yes. Yeah. But you guys don't have meetings? You guys don't discuss how you handle her finances and what she earns? Like, just painting her in a way that, not naive, but like almost unaware. And I was like, I find that very hard to believe. Like this self-made woman, who was kind to her. I stopped trusting Tess as the interview went on, and she was like, well, I can't process Allie's death. I had to keep surviving. I'm like, your oldest friend, someone who got you out of a horrible abusive situation, you lived next to each other in high school. Like if it wasn't for her, you had nowhere to go. You couldn't take a minute after you got out to like feel that she got shot in the face in front of you in your story. I was like, the baby girl comment as well, very specific. I was like, yeah, something's fucking off with you. Something's off with you. Also, like the whole like obsession of it. I never believed she was truly obsessed with Allie. I felt resentment. I felt jealousy, but I didn't feel the sense of obsession. Yeah, I didn't feel that. Like I didn't. I wanted her to, if you're gonna be evil, if you're gonna feel nothing, I need to believe that. And I didn't believe that at all. The changeling story, I didn't believe she was cunning. Like I didn't believe it, you know? Kaiser Soze, if you will. I didn't think she had to have a certain level of like meekness. And I didn't feel that really.
From Tess, you mean?
She felt very one-dimensional to me. Like I felt like, if you've ever seen like The Usual Suspects, if you're gonna transform and be this like, it's a huge spoiler, but there's a character in this movie who like he has a limp and he is like very like quiet, and the entire story he's describing a crime he witnessed, and he's like, there's this guy named Kaiser Soze and he's horrible, this and that. He killed all these people, this and that. No one's ever seen it before. This person who killed all his friends, he's describing this big story. He is Kaiser Soze. This quiet man, this meek man, this man who has a limp. As he walks out of the police like precinct, the detective looks around and realizes that everything around him on the board, this man's been using to build a story to cover his ass this whole time. He was the criminal. And as he walks out, he changes the way he walks. He changes the way he speaks. His entire mannerism changes. He was cunning. This one with Tess, I was like, you can't tell me why you're obsessed with her. You're trying to tell me that she found a way to bring you down to this cave. You're terrified of small spaces. Why did you change your mind? The baby girl comment, this random man in the cave, when the detective was like, if Allie was this prolific spelunker, this caver, she's aware that it takes 3 people to go on a tour like that. Like for your documents, you need 3 people to go down there.
Mm-hmm.
Why would she only bring you and her if she's so experienced and has done like classes with kids and stuff? I call bullshit. Like, it was just one of those things where I was like, you're missing parts of the story, you know, a little bit.
So do you think that Allie actually was a good caver, or do you think that wasn't her idea at all?
I think Allie was a good caver. I will believe that, like, Allie teaching her how to jump from the tree with the rope, teaching her that at a young age. I'm like, okay, that matches up with Allie, like, from a young age having interest in this. I was like, okay, Allie was a good caver. I think Tess's, like, reasoning for this crime, to me, were never 100% clear. I needed it to be clearer, you know? And I will also say, like, Allie as a character, I was concerned for her safety because we later find out that she's pregnant. We also find out that she had made, like, her boyfriend, Ethan, realizes she's not coming back. He puts a backpack on. He goes down there. He's like, well, she made an appointment. Like, it breadcrumbs you, and you're like, oh, like, is she getting an abortion? She has every right to do that. Is she keeping the baby? Like, Ethan, from Tessa's perspective, is this annoying, dumb boyfriend who is always in the background, and she's like, fuck, he's on my nerves. She could do better, this and that. It's not that serious. And from Allie's perspective, he's this, like, very sweet boyfriend. You know, he's happy about the baby. Like, he, you know, obviously it's still her choice. And she's concerned for her career. And she's in this cave, she's far along, and she's talking to her baby from her perspective about, like, I'm not moving forward. I'm so sorry. We're in a cave, like, worst case scenario. But by the end, she wants to survive. And that for me was when it got, like, oh, emotionally, I give a shit. But for Tessa's character, I never really gave a shit. Like, I was like, oh, I can't grip onto you. Like, your character is not really fleshed out to me. Okay. Jacob actually, to me, was pretty fleshed out. Like, we get a flashback to his childhood with his dad and the guy trying to steal shit from their car. And the dad being like, that shit was crazy. I was like, Jacob's pretty fleshed out. Like, we get his relationship. We get his childhood past. We get why he needs the money, his account being so low. We get a lot about his character. I was like, damn, who's this book about? I was like, what is this? So yeah.
Well, let's talk about, since we're kind of already in there, about Allie's identity. And because I feel like at the end of the story, you find out, obviously, that all of the things that Tess said that Allie did, tested, as we've been saying.
In reverse.
But like I said before, we don't really get a whole lot of Allie's perspective. There's this kind of, like, parallel line here where, like, okay, Allie's this influencer, and we know that, like, as an influencer, like, you're kind of putting the best parts of your life online, right? So we don't really know who she really is from that alone. And honestly, we don't get a lot of who she really is from Tess. And what we do get from Tess, it's like we don't know if that's actually how Allie is, or if that's Tess's impression of her, because like, obsession or whatever it is. And so really, like, Allie could be a shitty person too, you know, but we still end up, like, fighting for her at the end because she is the victim in the situation. But honestly, like, we don't really get a lot of Allie's character. And like I said, what we get from Tess. We don't know if that's true. And so it's like, Allie is almost like a ghost in this whole book. Like, I really don't ever feel like we know who Allie is. And then even at the very end, we get, okay, Ethan is alive. He didn't actually die. And then, oh yeah, she's Detective Washington gets her moment where she gets to tell the person that the victim that she thought was dead is actually alive, and bring them back to their loved ones. And she says, yes, Allie, we saved her, or whatever. Like, she's going to make it. But so, like, so much of this is about this relationship between these two women, but I think it's just so one-sided because we can't really know who Allie was. And that's fine. You know, it's still a relief to know that she got out of it, because I didn't see that coming, but well, and I guess I might have a little bit, but it seems the natural progression of the way to wrap things up. Like, it makes it, like, kind of a happier ending. It's satisfying, you know. I there's
I get that.
parallel discussion of identity and how authentic we are. You know, are we actually being ourselves? Are we being performative? And for Allie, I just don't know if we know. We don't know.
Like, what is real? What was like a memory? It does kind of remind me of I will not spoil the movie because it just came out. It reminds me of the movie Obsession, which is out right now in theaters.
I haven't seen it yet. Don't spoil
I
it.
hope you check it out. I will say though that like the themes of the person you built up in your head, who you've been with in your head, and who you've been with in real life are two very different people. Same thing with social media. Like this person that you see on Instagram or on YouTube or on Netflix or on whatever, Love Island. These shows you watch, these things you consume, you only see 2%, and it's usually edited heavily. Even in this friendship, like she only sees Allie from her perspective. And we don't know what the Allie is like with her boyfriend. We don't know what the Allie is like when she's by herself. Even the Allie when she's in the bus and she's throwing up in her purse and she's pregnant and she's thinking about her career and how this could affect her career. That was from Allie's point of view, a private moment. A man saying you don't have to do that. Like they could have pulled over. Like I said, I in my head, I'm like, okay, this is a very vulnerable person who's trusting someone who we originally thought Tess was like, oh, trusting Allie, this girl who built her up so high, only to betray her. And now it's like, no, vice versa. You know, Allie, this experienced person who thought you'd finally come on to her hobby and her interests, you finally were going to do something with her, who trusted you with her money management of her business. You've been skimming off the top. You fucking secretly hated her the whole time. And the guy you've been sleeping with, you have hired to unalive her. All these things combined, there was two quotes in the book that I thought tied really well to the sense of identity and perspective. And one of the quotes from the book is, letting a friendship die is easy. All you have to do is nothing. And the other one was, an investigator must be careful not to overdo it here. All memory is filtered through the tissue of the beholder. Your recollection becomes part of you. As romantic as it may sound, your brain can rewrite memories. The human mind is the ultimate unreliable narrator.
Yeah, that's so true.
I was like, ooh, similar vibes with like Eve's Bayou, Southern Gothic. One girl thinks she sees something horrible. One girl thinks she sees something horrible when she's a child, and her sister tells her a horrible story. And the sister is like, oh, you remember it wrong. It actually happened like this. So that's the thing with like girlhood and friendship. If you trust someone so much and they tell you like, I didn't do that, you remember it wrong.
Memory is just unreliable in general. That's why we're not, witnesses are not the best evidence, because your brain fills in the gaps. Like, just like they were saying, like whatever, if you even see something that you don't understand, your brain will make it into something that makes sense to you specifically. Even when you're just like, you feel something touch your arm and you think it's a fly or something, and you look down and you're like, but it's just like, whatever. It's just like a fluff or something. And yeah, your brain will do that to you. I do like that quote because it's so true. And
100%.
Yeah.
And in the caves, she does mention, you may hallucinate and see things. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. Like, you're in a stressful situation. But I do think that what is most heartbreaking is there is a scene at the end of the book where Allie's like, I loved you. Like, I loved you. And Tess is like, I loved you too. Like, it's unfortunate. Two things can be true at once. You can love someone and also be self-serving. You can love someone and also have the worst intentions for them. Unfortunately, it happens every day. The problem is usually the person closest to you. So, or the person they question the most, the boyfriend, the husband, the best friend. So yeah, that did not, the twist of it being Tess did not surprise me. I thought at one point it could be the boyfriend, possibly. In my head, I'm like, what if he orchestrated this from afar?
Yeah, I think that was kind of like one of the main purposes of his character of Ethan was he was like at first, because we're hearing from Tess that he's involved in the production and all of that as well for her keep calm thing. So like, I think he was there as like kind of a scapegoat or like, a red herring. But, and then also because when she gets like, when she's pregnant or whatever, and you think like whose baby is it, because you're still thinking that it's Tess and she's with both of them, like, oh, who's, you know.
You think at one point Allie has Ethan.
Allie, yeah, I think I said
you
Tess.
think Allie has Ethan, the boyfriend, and then you think maybe she has Jacob on the side, the edgy, darker guy. And I'm sitting here like, part one, how would she have time with travel and everything? With Ethan, also there was like a first date they went on they flipped a coin and they went to a burial ground, like a cemetery, for their first date, which from an Allie's perspective, if that's not your thing, is like, oh, that's actually very disrespectful, like who would do that? But then from Allie's perspective, you're like, it was a thing of fate. Like they talk about life and memory and having a family, be a great mother. So it was one of those things where it was like, it was all about perspective. To one person, it's creepy. To someone else, it's very beautiful and, thoughtful about life and the cycle of everything. But I will say this book, I think, comes down to like perspective. Like as you're reading, if you're paying attention, you know it's a thriller. You know there's going to be something going on.
Yeah.
When Allie says, I don't even know if it was Allie or Jess at that point, when one of the girls says, when you go into the cave you go into is not the same cave you come out of. I thought that could be said for every book you've ever fucking read. You go into a story thinking you know what's going to happen. And most of the time, if it's your first time reading it, there's always going to be something that maybe you didn't know, something you feel, a character you weren't aware of until after you read it. You're like, wow, I'm a little different now. Or like, that book gave me this, or I have a new perspective, or didn't do it for me. The cave, before going into the cave, Allie being like, Ethan and I, never mind. I was like, bullshit. Like starting a sentence like that and being like on the brink of tears and being like, Ethan and I, and her best friend being like, Ethan knew what? And it's like, never mind. I'm like, oh, fuck out of here. Like, I can't stand that. And she did it multiple times. I was like, the dialogue, I need you. Certain quotes I loved. And some I was like, finish the sentence. Like, you weren't interrupted. What is going on here? She did so many times. Ethan and I looks into the distance. Never mind. I'm like, what is this? What is this?
Me and my baby, I would not let that go until I knew.
We're about to go into a dark abyss, and you're telling me the only man who knows where I am? You're having a fallout?
Yeah.
No. I said, what? No. This immediately, no. Wire me back up. What? No. You're out of your mind. So here, that was part of I alluded to it earlier, but like the dialogue, I'm like, you are not going to start a sentence with, I have something I have to tell you. Never mind. Trust me. What? In a dark cave? Far away from my home? No. But yeah, I'm sorry. That was my only thing where I was like, you lose a star. But yeah.
That's fair. And okay, so over all of this, like this, between the changing perspectives and the characters, there's a lot of lies being told between the characters, between the reader. So what do you think was the biggest lie? The lie told to the other characters, the lie told to the reader, or the lie the character told to themselves?
The Nile is a river in Egypt. Your husband is gay. They're the lies the characters told themselves. I love memes. The Nile, the river in Egypt. So pretty much denial. I think the lie the characters told themselves was worse than the lies told to the reader. I think that there was a lot of smoke and mirrors. I think if you weren't paying attention, or the perspective, your own perspective may have eluded you at certain scenes. Also, if you read a lot of thrillers, you begin to look for certain twists and things like that. Yeah, I think, I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. The lies told to other characters. No, I think if you really know someone, do you really know them? There's always a little bit of room for, like, people keep secrets, people tend to hide things sometimes. You leave room for that. You never 100% know someone. There has to be room for growth. But the lies the characters told themselves, I think, were the worst and the biggest in the book. I think Tess saying, like, the changeling game, bringing that up so often, once again, you're showing your hand. This implication of, well, I was always one step ahead. I was the one who was able to flip things on their head. I was the one that no one really knew me. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, the lady doth protest too much. People who actually can, like, change and become like social chameleons and things like that. I don't think they have to tell people that often. I think they can just do that. I don't think they would reveal themselves that way, where it's like, well, I'm the smartest person in the room. The smartest person in the room probably does not fucking say that. It shouts in the rooftop. Right. Yeah. So for me, I was like the chameleon game. Once again, I was like, you're in denial. You think you are above it all. No one can figure you out. You are a human Rubik's Cube. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, no. Give the investigator speaking to you with years under their belt some credit. Don't be ageist and think that this woman can't figure you out. Meryl Streep / Viola Davis can figure you out. So I was like, the fuck? So I was like, leave that. I also think that Allie, the perspectives we got from her, I think the lie about Tess being this like vulnerable person she saved, or that was a friend she hyped up, like I felt pity for you. I think the implication that to me that was the only thing I didn't like about Allie, which is like, well, I pitied you. I was like, this girl obviously has a lot attached to you.
I'm listening.
Like, you know, so yeah, I was a little bit like, you pity your best friend, like you actively pity her. Yeah, I was like, Allie, you're in denial, girly pop. Like, you know, she's also going to law school. She ain't fucking dumb. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you pity her. Like, that's a lot. Yeah. So I was like, that's a little bit of denial there. Let's hold some room. So it was secrets. Jacob thinking that, you know, that Tess was this, like, there's a dark side of her and I'm seeing it and I can figure it out. I've got it under control. Once again, denial. Like, no. When he was bleeding from his throat, when he got shot, the shot from up when Allie was able to, they talk about it often. Oh, her dad took her shooting. Okay. Shooting him going up, like he had to go over the hole she was in at the exact right time. Yeah. She shot through a hole with jagged edges right into his neck, and Tess rips his bandages off and lets him bleed out because he can't go to the hospital. You can't leave. We have to end this. Why do you want to kill her so badly? Is it because of the money? Is it because you hate her? Is it the obsession? Is it because you want to get away with this crime? You know that there's too much on the line. Choose a reason. It can't be all the things.
I don't really understand her motive either. Like, even at the very end, like, why go to these lengths? If you're going to get found out because you've been stealing, I guess that's one reason to do it. But like, for a minute, I was like, is she trying to take over her life? Like, is she trying to like do some like body snatching shit? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But when it's all said and done, I don't understand why you would go to those lengths. And if you were to go to those lengths, I need more on your backstory other than you lied and sent your mom, got yourself taken out of your mom's home, and that you have a little bit of darkness in you. Like, I need more than that for that kind of motivation.
So I agree.
For me,
flesh it out. 10 hours and over 300 pages. I should know why you want to do this. That's why I was like, this could have been shorter, because we shouldn't have questions at the end. To me, a good thriller wraps it up. Like, you don't have to break everything down, but it should be clear why the killer did what they did. If you're going to have a deep, dark backstory, the perfect thriller to me, multiple point of views, deep, dark backstory, reasons for why you had to kill this person. Like, you have to follow through. There's no going back. And a narrator who has always been there. The killer's always been right there, but you don't see it till the very end. The Guest List by Lucy Foley. That was one of the best thrillers I ever read. I read that and I had to sit down for a while.
Yeah.
And, like, process. I sat there and I was like, no. I was the old lady from Get Out. No. Yeah, I had to process that. This I think was attempting to have a ooh moment where it's like, you never saw it coming. And I was like, no, I need to know her motive. There's too many. It's like a multiple choice question. Like, it's got to be one. It can't be all. Come on. Not all above. Like, give me one. A, B, or C. Like, was it the money? Was it the obsession? Or was it, there's too many bodies, I have to wrap this up, I need to be the lone survivor?
Mm-hmm.
It was never 100% clear. And then Jacob leaving him with the like shot in the neck, the boyfriend's down there, a bag over his head, your fingerprints are on it. They never said that she put gloves on. Like, make it make sense. And then going back down there, the map reversed, you made her go in the wrong direction. You also got trapped. What if they didn't find you? She swallowed the SIM card. Like, what? Huh? Too much.
Then they have to use their intuition against each other and figure out which way is the right way. What would she pick? All of that.
Yeah. You're too close. She was too close. Like, to be this mastermind of, I was the chameleon. I was the changeling. I'm like, were you? Like, so I will leave it at that. Also, I did like how Allie was a real survivor. Like, I liked how her career tied into having her experience ultimately saved her. I liked that. I did. And I did like, sentimentally, I liked the ending of the boyfriend surviving, him being the one who used the radio. I needed that to be wrapped up as well. I'm like, fuck out of here. I don't think Jacob would use the radio to call for help. I don't think so. So I wanted to know who used the radio to call for help. Okay, it was Ethan. Okay. Man had a purpose. Not much, but he was there. Okay. He's the father of that child. He used the radio to call for help. And he is one of the survivors who she's able to show the phone and be like, we saved her. She has, what is it? Cecil. She has Cecil. Throughout the entire book, they're like, the detective's like, she has Cecil. I was like, this better wrap up. Getting on my nerves. Like, I had to give the 4-star because I was like, the setting is interesting. The friendship was interesting. I love a good complex female friendship, especially when one person's fucking unhinged. Like, I need her to actually be unhinged. I don't want her to be redeemable. Whereas like a hug will save her. I need it to be like, you wronged me and I never let it go. Like, 10 years of planning and smiling, and she didn't crack under pressure. It was always right there. I need like unhinged. So if you're gonna do it. Don't do it half-ass. You know. So
Okay, so let's see here. Was there anything about the plot or the story that you want to touch on that you feel like we haven't touched on yet?
Yeah. What was one of your favorite scenes when reading? Like, was there any scenes during the book where you were like, oh, this was really well done?
I think the one actually that stands out for me is when Tess, I guess Allie and Jacob are in the drain pipe or whatever it is. And that was when I started really being able to picture it, because her face is facing his face. She's going deeper in and he's following her, and the way that she like tricked him into thinking that she gave him the card.
The memory card.
And then there's this whole like thing, but it's all being played out like back and forth. And then if she kills him, she dies too, because he's blocking the way out of this like hole this big or however big that you can't stand up in. That scene was probably the most like suspense for me, because I was like, oh no, how is she gonna do this? Like, what is she gonna do? And she was very clever about it. So I liked that, like her little clever ways to like, because I don't know if in the moment I would be that smart. I don't know if I would think ahead like that.
I will say, like, you just reminded me, the glasses, Evan's glasses, when he gets there, Jacob like fucks with her mind. He throws the glasses down the cave. When Tess is telling the story, she's like, yeah, like he had Evan, like he was gonna kill him. He told her if she didn't give him the SIM card, that he was gonna kill Evan. And Tess is like, I was down there. Like the boyfriend. She's like, yeah, he threw his glasses down there to like fuck with her so she could give us the memory card. And I was like, if you're the one in the cave, you don't like this guy. Jacob doesn't know that. You don't give a flying F. Why would his bloody glasses make you give your only evidence of him shooting your friend in the face that you swore you would defend and protect with your life? Give him the memory card. You don't give a fuck about him. That's when I realized it was Allie down there. she would emotionally be distraught enough to give it all up to save the love of her life. This person she loves so much, the father of her child, even someone she spent years being with. Like, even if she wasn't gonna keep the kid, that's still a guy you're dating. Like, to claim that she doesn't give a flying fuck, I was like, I call bullshit. That sounds more like Tess. Like, you don't even like him. Why would you risk your life for him? R.I.P. Like, she was already at peace with it. I was like, all right, girl, I know it's Allie down there. It's not you. So I think that was a scene for me where I was like, a good thriller author, someone who can write a good story that's going to leave me like terrified, gasping, I need to know what happens next. I think they leave enough room for like questioning, like double guessing myself, rereading a chapter, being like, did I read that right? That glasses scene for me was like a, let me process this. Like, same thing with the investigator talking about her son in flashbacks with the hamster. I was like, is your son, was it an accident? Like, what happened? Or does your son also have a dark side? And maybe you didn't see that. Like, you're opening up Pandora's box. It's either got to have a reason or don't include it. So I liked the glasses thing. I was like, this just reinforces that it's not Tess down there, it's Allie. And Tess is a very big imagination, and she's able to craft a very interesting story.
Do you think the baby lived? I don't think they mentioned that, did they?
They did not mention that. I don't remember how far along she was. But I also wasn't sure if at the end she wanted to. Like, it
just sounded to me like she wanted, like she had accepted, like, I'm gonna be a mother now. Like,
yeah,
fighting for her
sesame seed,
you know?
Yeah, she kept saying like the size. As time went on, she's trying to make a decision. She's like, you're now a sesame seed. You're this, you're that. But I'm not going to keep you. And I'm like, okay, well, girl, I respect whatever decision you make. If you don't keep it, okay, it's your choice. If you do, okay, that is your choice. You told your partner, so he's aware, like, you made the appointment. But at one point, she's like, I'm going to cancel the appointment. And I'm like, okay, but you're in a cave fighting for your life. Like, I think we need to get out of the cave first before we think about the appointment. But I think she needed something to look forward to. Like, she needed that extra, like, it's not just about you surviving. I think that for her was an extra force of like, fuck this. And once again, it gave me the same energy of like a good horror movie where it's like, I need a reason to survive. I need a reason to get the fuck out of here. Be it a family or a loved one or like a personal thing. I liked, like I said, I really appreciated Allie's sense of like the water bottle, squeezing that, using the bubbles. Like, I liked that her career tied into how she wanted to survive. It logically made sense. And I liked that. For me, Tess living that long, I'm like, this isn't, like, you have no experience. Like, you would not make it this far. Like, it's a stretch of the imagination. But for Allie, I'm like, no, because it's her career. It's her whole career. I was like, that makes sense. Like, she would survive. Bear Grylls style. She'd survive. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. So, yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about comp titles. If you had to recommend another book based on this, what would you compare this to for anyone?
Yes. So, okay, I have a few physical recommendations, and then I do have like my two big boys that are like, they hit. These books are slept on. These books do not get enough love, and I need them to get more love. So the first one, I mentioned it a little earlier, is The Guest List. It follows a wedding party that is on an isolated island. They're very wealthy. Imagine like a Chris Hemsworth, and like a really big like model or whatever. They end up on a private island. It's a big storm coming, and long story short, yes, Lucy Folly, The Guest List. I know it's got mixed reviews, but it is one of my favorite thrillers. It was kind of one of the thrillers that started it all for me. I read it as an audiobook when I was in, like, I want to say high school. And I read it and I was shook. The same energy everyone had for Gone Girl, I had for The Guest List. But long story short, someone dies on the island after the wedding, and you don't know who it is. And as the chapters flip, you get the perspective of like the best friend, the maid of honor, the bride's sister. It may seem like a lot of perspectives, but for anyone who's ever been to a wedding, when you bump into so many people, you realize they know different versions of the bride and groom. Some people have good experiences. Some people are like, oh, I knew them 10 years ago, but we're kind of close, this and that. This felt like being at a party and everyone's smiling. And the moment that someone drops a plate or something goes south, you're like, why are you really here? Like, are you here because you're friends with this person? Are you here because you like the drama? Why are you here? And how close are you to this person? Actually, that's how that book felt. It gave me the same energy of One Last Breath because the different perspectives and the complex relationships in that book, the groom has a lot of male best friends from school, from his career. And it reminded me a lot of the relationship between Tess and Allie. The friends where it's like we go so far back. I know you. Like, I know the worst, I know the best. And we may still have beef existing. That's what this reminded me of. So, and it's also it's a great fucking twist. So I highly recommend it. Another one that I recommend is a little bit more spooky, but it reminds me of A Confined Space because of the tone. And oh my gosh, it's called Burn the Negative. It is by Josh Winning. The cover is a film negative with a woman like on it, like a shadowy woman, and then a flame like consuming the film. And it follows a woman who was in a slasher film in the 90s, similar to The Omen. And long story short, her castmates begin to die off. And when she was a child, like her parents, the fame was too much. They end up taking her from the UK back to the US. She changes her name. She becomes a journalist. And while on the plane to the UK to interview someone, she realized that the film that became so prolific and haunted and people from her cast begin to die off, they're remaking it. And she's like, has a lot of trauma related to that movie and they're remaking it. And that really makes her uncomfortable. And she's investigating people and she's interviewing people who are going to be on the new set. So it flips between the past and the present. And it's called Burn the Negative. And it's by Josh Winning. I thought it was amazing. I'm comparing it to Her Last Breath because it touches on elements of this story kind of connects to like childhood and a darker personality inside of some people. Where on the outside they're more shy, and then on the inside there may be elements of their past that bleed into why they are the way they are now. And I got that from this story. And this has a little bit of a creature feature element. So if you like Candyman, if you like Scream, if you like the real life spooky elements of The Omen and what actually happened to that cast, I think you'll like this one. So Burn the Negative is amazing. I wish more people talked about it.
Okay, I read that one. It is on my TBR, but I've not read it.
It is very, very good. Go in blind, you won't regret it. And also, fun fact, the real cast from I think it was The Omen, actually did pass away, unfortunately, from horrible causes in real life. So over the years, like, I think that might have inspired this book a little bit. You end up finding out that like someone passed away in a car crash, someone passed away from a really rare cancer. Like, it was one of those things where like a lot of the cast passed away, and I was like, that's freak chances. So yes, spooky.
You know what? I think that might have been Poltergeist.
Poltergeist, yes. Because
I feel like the girl died. I know the little girl died that was in Poltergeist. And then some other weird stuff happened.
Yes. In Burn the Negative, the main character, her as an adult, the movie that she was in, her character as a child, like it alludes to like winks of like The Shining, winks to like the Poltergeist. Like she would tell people how they were gonna die in the movie. And then in real life, like she's meeting the people that she used to act with years later. But like her name has changed. Obviously she's grown up. Like some people recognize her, some people don't. But you also find out that like the monster in the story has been seen out and about in real life.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at that. So it's very interesting. I have some physicals that I think that you guys would also love. If you like stories that have multiple point of views, spooky elements, and also make you feel genuinely afraid for yourself, like who can I trust? I recommend Never Whistle at Night by Shane Hawk and Theodore Stephen Alst. This has a collection of different stories, and it's also an Indigenous horror anthology. The audiobook is divine, and volume 2 is coming out this year as well. It's Never Whistle at Night, volume 2, Back for Blood. And this highlights a lot of amazing, wonderful Indigenous horror authors. And the editors also have their own short stories in this collection. And it's amazing. There is one short story in here that I think a lot of folks would like if you've read One Last Breath. And that is one that I think, oh my gosh, it is about a young man who goes on a date with his hot neighbor, and he has a box full of something very creepy. He's good looking, right? Like, you should trust him, like, on the surface, similar to Tess, where it's like, well, she's a law student, like, she's the best friend, like, she's seemingly supportive. Something's darker under the surface. And that short story is Navajos Don't Wear Elk Teeth by Conley Linos. And also Kashuga by Mathilda Zeller follows a young woman who may see someone who looks just like her on a dark road at night. And it's actually a creature based on real lore. So that's another short story in this collection that's actually getting a full-blown book very soon. So
nice. I will definitely check that one out. That sounds really good.
I hope you do. She was the first author I ever interviewed for the podcast. And she was the first one I ever interviewed. She actually discussed her inspiration for Kashuga. And she was super sweet. And now her book's becoming a full-blown, like, the short story is becoming a full-blown novel, which is amazing. So I'm hoping to have her back. Another one that I think a lot of folks would like, it just came out, and I have an interview with this guy as well, is Dead First by Johnny Compton. This book I would recommend if you liked Her Last Breath, because it follows someone who has a very large secret, similar to Tess, and they are willing to do anything to get it covered up. It also follows someone who is a private eye. This person reminds me of a younger Detective Washington. So if you like Detective Washington's perspective, you will get that in Dead First. There also is a creepy canal dark cave in this story at one point when they're investigating something. If you like the setting, you'll get that here at some point. This follows a young woman who goes to a millionaire's house. She is used to debunking stuff. She investigates people for the right cost, and he is not able to die. He tells her, he's like, I have this problem. I have no memory of how this happened to me. But you can stab me, shoot me, whatever, and I won't die. I'll come back to life. And he's like, I need you to figure out how I got this way. I have no memory. And if you do not do this, then I will reveal your darkest secret. Like, I've been watching you. I've been investigating you myself. Like, I will expose you and ruin your life. So figure out why I can't die. Thank you. For the right price. So he's super manipulative and horrible. But she's sitting here like, he knows what I did. You do not even know what you did until later. Yeah. And this author he has a great track record of really holding things over your head until the very end. Like, you don't know what's happening. Which sounds good. You know, if you're looking for a good twist, you will get that in Dead First. And Johnny was lovely. For a horror author, he's actually a very sweet person. So as they usually are. So I would recommend. They're always very sweet. So I'd recommend Dead First if you like confined spaces, secrets, complex female main characters who are investigators, and a little bit of horror and some good twists. So I think you'll like Dead First. Nice. And my last one is less scary. If you're going into Summerween and you do not necessarily want a horror, but you do want to be a little spooky, and you like complex female friendships with a dark side, I recommend Cackle by Rachel Harrison.
Yeah.
It's such a good book. Oh, such a good female book. Too. Such a good female friendship book. This is what I wish Allie and Tess maybe could have been, where it adds something to your life genuinely, even though you may be a little jealous at times. That jealousy, I think, can be reframed in a perspective of like, you know, she has these things. How can I find that in myself? Mm-hmm. That's what Cackle gave me. This follows a young woman who gets out of a relationship that didn't work out, and she goes to a small town. She's a teacher. She ends up meeting a very wonderful, mystical, magical woman, similar to like practical magic vibes. Mm-hmm. And she realizes there's something a little bit off with this woman who lives in the woods and wears the cutest clothes, but has no fucking job in a cozy small town. And the story goes from there. And Rachel Harrison writes women in such a unique way. And she leaves a lot of room for growth, for flaws, but also for a little bit of grace in a dark, spooky world, which we love. So
Yeah, well,
that. Yeah, those are my recommendations. Those are my recs. If you liked Her Last Breath but are looking for a little bit more this Summerween, grab those.
Nice. I do have a couple that I wanted to share.
Heck yeah.
Just for anyone, maybe for you, I don't know, that exit. But now I'm wondering if maybe like this is more like your style of Taylor Adams, and this is more my style of Taylor Adams. So maybe you wouldn't love this one because you did say you tried it a couple times and you didn't get into it. Is that right?
I did. I tried it a few years ago, but then again, I'm older now, and maybe I'll read it during like winter. Maybe it would be nice to read it around like Christmas time. I did try to read it a few years ago, like Summerween. So maybe it's more of like a wintry story.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely atmospheric and wintry. And this is my favorite of his that I've read, but this one like just hit me really hard when I first read it too. Like it was one of those, like, I was like, oh, who is this guy? You know, everyone's like, you have to read No Exit. And I didn't know what to expect, but I really did get into this one. And another one where I felt like he kind of makes time slow down and you're just like, holy cow. It's been like, all of these things are happening, but it's only been like 6 minutes, you know? You're like, how did you, what's going on?
Okay.
But I think this is, I prefer this style from him personally. But then I was thinking if you wanted something that is more like a thriller author that is more character driven, like this one, I would say is more like or not this one. This one I think is, well, both of them really are like survival thrillers, right? So yeah. Survival thrillers, like as a subgenre, I feel like they need to be fast paced and there's going to be a lot of action and it's very like last minute decisions type of thing. And I think both of these do that. I think so. I would consider them both survival thrillers, but I personally like a little bit more character development. And so I would suggest something from like Elisa Jewell moment, as she always has like it's always fair, you know, all of her. It never feels like she's like tricking the author purposefully, but the way she like hides her twists and her reveals and the way she reveals them, it's like, it's so poised. It's done so well. And this is just one of her novels. She has so many. She's just a great author in general. And then more specifically though, when I was trying to think of like fast-paced survival thrillers that I would recommend that were similar to this, the one that came to mind is Fantastic Land by Mike. So this one is set in this, what's it called? It's like a theme park, Fantastic Land. Okay. And it's in Florida. There's this huge hurricane that comes in and it's left all of these people stranded in Fantastic Land, but it's mostly kids. It's the teenagers that work there and they're all like in their teens, right? And there's some other like drastic thing that's going on somewhere else that's more like immediate danger. And so they're not getting help and it becomes this like Lord of the Flies thing. But the thing that I liked about this is the way that it's told, because it's done almost like a documentary, like a talking head documentary where they're doing interviews with all of the people after the fact. And the audiobook in particular, I absolutely loved for this one. I thought the audio was so successful. And I just loved that we got all of these different POVs and you're getting more of the story and it's getting filled in with each interview that they're doing.
Oh, I love that. What
actually happened. Because by the time they do get there, and it's not a spoiler to say it, there's blood and gore everywhere. Like they walk in to rescue these people and they're like, what has been happening here? And I think they were in there for like a few weeks or something, maybe a month. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while, but I loved this one and it felt very like survival thriller. It felt fast paced and I liked the interview style of it. It kept me more interested.
Ooh, I kind of feel that way about like Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson.
Oh, I haven't read that one.
Yes. So that was the first book I ever read of hers. I have been, I will admit, a little scared to read her books. One of the reasons is because all of her books, besides that one, are based on like somewhat true situations. Like allegedly it follows pretty dark stuff. similar to as well, like Monday's Not Coming, about a young girl who doesn't show up for school. It alludes to some abuse at home, and people not paying attention because she was a person of color. So once again, that's also rooted, unfortunately, in a true case. So The Weight of Blood is actually a Carrie retelling. So more fantastical, but it is rooted in instead of with Carrie, obviously we know with Stephen King. Can you spoil Carrie? But
no,
I don't think you can. But yeah, I don't think you've had enough time, team. But it
everyone knows generally that Carrie,
like what happens. This story reframed that. Yeah, I feel like you would, but this young girl who everyone thought initially was Caucasian, it rains and her hair turns really curly, and she's an interracial person. And as someone who also grew up in a very like went to a lot of schools, like a larger white community, I've been bullied. Like, you know, it's hard. So you realize that her father has some really dark perspectives on race and stuff, but you get throughout the book, you get chapters related to like podcasts about what she did in the book. And you're also getting perspectives of Maddie, this girl who was bullied, who goes through a lot of things that, you know, in the original Carrie story, but now also that element of she's being bullied because of her race. She's getting bullied because she wears older clothes, but her dad dresses her up in the like Grease era because he thinks those are the good old days.
Ooh, I love that.
Yes. And he makes her like perm her hair with the hot comb. It's very painful. When it rains, she tries to go inside when it's gym, and it's not because of like her, pride. It's because like she cannot get her hair messed up because of her father. So you get that, and then when the telekinesis comes through, you also get a dark voice in her mind, like feeding into that anger and that frustration. Very good, and like it's very good. So I highly recommend if you're gonna read like the audiobook, because you get the podcast element. A podcast that is like, we have met one of the victims that survived the night of blah 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 blah, and they said she was crazy blah 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 blah, and then you get Maddie's perspective of what the person who survived, what they did to her and how they treated her, and how now the podcast will describe her versus what actually happened. It is very good. If you I'm
a sucker for a podcast element.
Me too. I love a good mixed media. Same thing like Head Full of Ghosts, where you've got the like, it's a classic, where you've got the like the Haunting of Hill House-esque environment versus what it was actually like living in the house, and then the show that was covering everything. There was a book that came out. I haven't read it yet, but it's called like Episode 13 or something like that. It's a book. And I know the cover, but apparently it's like a haunted house, but the show that's recording what's happening versus what the family's actually experiencing, similar to Head Full of Ghosts. I think it's called Episode 13. Yeah, it's called Episode 13 by Craig DeLuey.
Okay, yes.
Yes, a ghost haunting reality TV crew. You own it? Oh, you've read it?
I read it. I don't know if I own it, but I did not rate it well.
Oh, wow. I've always seen it like floating around. I'm like, oh, I'll read that at some point. I don't own it, but I know the cover. I know I've seen it around.
Yeah, here I can show you the cover. Hold on, I gotta pull it up.
It's like a window, a greenish Victorian window. Yes, and then the yellowy curtain and then the hands.
Cover's beautiful.
The cover is gorgeous. I think it's hard sometimes when you've read such an amazing story like Head Full of Ghosts, or like if you've ever read, like for me, like Spite House by Johnny Compton.
I have not, but I've heard good things about that too.
For a debut, holy crap. Like for a debut, the dread and the anxiety I felt. I have two younger brothers. And I'm the oldest by a lot. So it's like a 13-year age gap. So for me, any books related to like young kids, especially like teenagers and making dumb decisions, it's hard for me. Like I don't want anything to happen to them. Now that I have siblings of my own. So it's hard. I love thrillers. Like the thriller, the horror Listen to Your Sister, a book I own. I couldn't finish because it was so like older sister, younger brothers. and like a scary situation, and like it alludes like something bad's gonna happen. I couldn't finish
I
it.
think I really liked that one.
Yeah, I own it. I hope I can read it at some point. But there are just some books that you read and you're like, oh, this hit something very personal for me. Maybe too close to home, like scary too much. But I guess, yeah, Spite House is similar to Her Last Breath to me in the sense of claustrophobia. The house is viscerally alive, like Hill House. It replays things for you. And when you think of like a haunted house, you could do whatever you want with that. You could pull a play nice like Rachel Harrison and make it about memory and a complex relationship with your mom and control and demons, literal and figurative. Or you could pull a metaphor like Johnny Compton, where it's a father in the South with his teenage daughter and his like 7-year-old daughter going into a haunted house knowingly and getting paid because they are running from something and they need the money. And the old woman is like, hey, my house is haunted. Everyone's aware of that. Here's the history of the house. And then you get the old woman's perspective and she's like, I'm going to keep certain things from them because I need them to report back. And then you get the father's perspective and he's like, I need to protect my daughters and we're running from something and I will do whatever I have to do to get through this. And the house is probably not that bad. Like it's not as bad as what we're running from. And then you get the teenage daughter who runs at night to make a little bit of extra money running errands for people with no car because she knows her dad is struggling. You're getting all these perspectives and you're getting ghosts.
That actually kind of reminds me of, I just read The Caretaker by Marcus Cleaver.
Ooh. Okay.
And that one was really good too. Very similar in that she's in a desperate position. She's getting paid to stay at this house. And all she has to do is like, make sure the lights stay off between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Make sure there's no bunnies around. Make sure. And then anything that happens, like she has these notes that she can open. Like, this is what you do next. If somebody knocks on the door, don't answer them. Like there's just all of these like rights that this old man that had passed away, used to live there. He says like he's saving the world by doing these seemingly ridiculous tasks. And the wife is like, well, I promised him I'd keep this up. I got to go out of town. So just do this and you'll be fine. And of course it does not go all fine. That one's pretty dark. It ends unexpectedly.
In a good way or in a bad way? Wait.
I like that kind of ending, but I don't know if everybody would. So let's that way.
Is it giving like Cabin at the End of the World vibes?
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I see you.
Yeah.
I love a good like mystery. I like a good thriller. I just need it to have reason. I need reason. Like, I don't know why, but like for some reason not having closure to a certain extent, my brain is like, no, like you had enough time. Like finish the story. It's like it's the same. I love that. I need closure.
I like when it's left for the reader to decide sometimes. What? I think I'm a little different there than some other people because I know in my mind what I think happened. And if it's written down and counteracts that or contradicts that, then I'm going to be upset. You know what I mean? So I like it being left in my own hands to like figure out, because it's horror, it's not a romance. It doesn't have to end the same way every time. It doesn't always end up with like, they fell in love and they lived happily ever after. Yeah. Because I feel like when you're talking about horror, a lot of times it's just a metaphor for something else, and it doesn't always end with it tied up in a bow nicely. That's just not how life is.
No,
although
you're right.
I get the urge to want that though. Like, I totally get
that. That's how I feel about, I will not spoil it because it just came out. I won't be that asshole. But I went to go see The Backrooms on Friday. I have AMC A-lister. This is not NAD, but I have AMC A-lister because I was like, one ticket's too expensive. If I spend this amount every month, I could see 4 movies a week. Heck yeah. So in my town, I was like, all right, this seems like a great date night. My girlfriend hates scary movies. So I was like, well, F me. So I was going to see it for myself. She waited outside. I think she saw like Super Mario. But I went in there by myself. The movie ended in a way that I was like, I have to talk to someone about this. The metaphors, the mental health things going on. This is complex. And my partner and I were in the elevator and the light was flickering and I was like, and then they were trapped in my I was like, no, I mean, it's a metaphor. And she was like, I don't want to know. I'm like, but you don't want to. She's like, I don't want to know. I ran to the car in the parking lot. Yeah.
Just to clarify, you guys went to the movies together and
Correct.
then saw different movies. Is that correct?
Yes.
No, you need space
Yeah.
to do what you want to do.
Yeah. Well, she saw Obsession with me last weekend. I begged her. She saw Obsession with me last weekend. And then she saw this other movie called Passenger. We did a double feature. And she drives a lot. I am the passenger princess. So the passenger movie is about a haunted thing on the side of the road. And I was like, well, that ain't have nothing to do with this. Like, I was like, I sit beside you and I helped with the playlist. I didn't have to worry about this. And with Obsession, I was like watching it and I was like, this is like my books. I like books that make me think, that make me uncomfortable, that start conversations that, what are your thoughts on that? It won't come up normally. So the book is a vessel to discuss this in a way. And I think that what we're scared of says a lot about who we are. I'm terrified of the dark. I'm also terrified of like going out with a group of friends and being left behind. I hate the idea of like you trusted people and they like ditched you. That is horrible to me. Like when I'm with my friends, we're a team, even as an adult, like especially as a woman, buddy system. I don't care. Like we do this together. So whenever I see a horror movie where someone's being left behind or a partner or a relative or a close friend crosses a boundary or a line, I'm sitting here and I'm like, that's horrific. It's scarier than the demons. It's scarier than the monsters because the monsters and demons don't know you. This person knows you and they left you out in the shadows, in the dark, for whatever's out there. That's scarier than the actual creature. The creature is just there, waiting. So I don't know. That's a good, that's part of the reason I love horror, like Candyman or Scream, or the monster isn't stranger. The monster is your boyfriend. The monster is your friend, your sister, your brother, your husband, your wife, like the person sleeping beside you.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, or like Hill House, the monsters, the people who didn't save you were your parents or your siblings. Like that's your children. Oh gosh, that's so scary.
What are you talking about, Hill House? Are you referring to the
book or the show?
Book of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went through a phase.
Talking about the show, right?
No, I went through a phase where I went into like Edgar Allan Poe, Hill House, Dracula, and Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde in high school. I read a lot of those books in high school.
That's good for you. I still haven't read most of those, but I have read Hill House.
Go for it. Go for it. They have really good collections of Edgar Allan Poe's poetry at like Barnes & Noble. Also in some like thrift stores, they have the bound copies. A lot of the classics you can also find gently used. But I read a lot of classics in high school because English was one of my favorite classes. And I had a really bad speech impediment. So reading out loud was helpful at home. So I could later, when I like popcorn reading, I was able to speak more clearly because I practiced. So reading those books, even though the words were very long, it allowed me to sound out words. It allowed me to understand metaphors. With my anxiety, all I do is think. I'm in my head. So reading was a way to channel that and think of metaphors and channel that and like think of like the deeper meanings. There actually are deeper meanings. It really is that deep. For once, it was like, this is the appropriate setting to have a 4-hour conversation about a book because it's complex. So I read those stories at a young age. My mom was so supportive. She got me my first big copy of the Edgar Allan Poe collection, which is so sweet. What does your 15-year-old want? I want Charles Bukowski and I want Edgar Allan Poe. But my mom was very supportive, and she's an amazing reader herself. She's actually in town. But yeah, I read the book first, and then years later the show came out. And by then it had been a long time. So I was like, I remember the first line of the book, of course, but I remember certain elements of the story, but I was like, I could easily reread this. It's been a while. I of course fell in love with Mike Flanagan when I watched the show. I liked his interpretation. I was like, it does not have to be the same. I'm actually okay with that. The older I get, the more I'm like, I'm not married to stories unless it's a personal favorite. Then I get like, why would you change that? But that was okay. It's a classic. You have room to change it. But I liked the show just because, once again, I have a very large family and I'm very close to my family. And it was a show I was able to watch with my grandma. She's a big Stephen King fan. I'm not, but she likes horror. So she was able to watch it. And my friend watched it. She's an actor and she likes the dialogue. So I was like, oh, you should watch it. I think you would like the language of how these characters speak and the monologues. She loves a good monologue because that's what she does for her hobby. So it was a great way to like start conversation. But The Haunting of Hill House, the show, I had a better experience watching it and it was emotional for me. Reading the book at such a young age, I think it was more so like my first dip into like a more hefty reading experience of like, woo, the writing in this is intense. But it was also my first experience like a haunted house. And I actually read Sharp Objects when you mentioned it earlier. That was the first story I read with like mature content in high school. I read that I want to say my junior year of high school. Yeah. And I was in an adult book club with my mom in high school. And I was in my school book club early in the morning before classes. So I was that nerdy kid who went from like my computer editing class to like next day early in the morning, came into school early so I could go into the library, and I had my book club with my classmates. And then I had my adult book club where it was like thrillers and stuff like that with my mom and like a few of her friends and like coworkers. So that was cool. It was fun. So yeah. But I hope you like Sharp Objects. That's a story I will never forget ever.
Yes. So, I've read it before. I don't know if I was clear on that, but I have read it.
Okay.
I read all of Gillian Flynn's, but I wanted to pick one that I had already read because sometimes, you know, like this time, if I don't really love the book as much, it's kind of a bummer to come on here and be like, hey, I didn't really love it. It's opposed to like a book I know I've already read and already enjoyed, and I can just get on here and just like, you know, gush about it. So that's pick one backlist. And I think I'm going to do that moving forward. For every 3 books, I'm going to have one that I've already read. Just because, you know, just because I've already read it doesn't mean like I don't want to talk about it still. You know?
I get that. I read books and I talk about them on the podcast. And usually when I read it the first time, I read it for enjoyment. And then I'll reread something to make notes for the podcast. Like I love sharing my favorite quotes. I love sharing my favorite, like, one of my favorite YouTubers, he says, oh my golly Wally, like whenever something crazy happens. And sometimes there are scenes when I read in a book and I'm like, that'll always stick with me. I will never forget that. I read the guest list almost 7 years ago and I still remember that book like the back of my hand. It was visceral for me. I think about it all the time. I can recall the entire storyline off the top of my head. That's how intense that book was for me. So I don't know. I love a good book. And I think what I love about Gillian Flynn, you should definitely, she released a story recently. It was not like Sharp Objects, but it had some pretty good, fun, dark humor and some spooky elements. It was perfect for Summerween.
A recent book?
Yes, it came out the past few years. I read it with a friend.
I feel like I want to know. Are you talking about, hold on.
It was the one where she goes to a haunted house. Was she the girl goes to a haunted house? Yes, The Grown Up.
This one is really good. I think I've read all of her books, so I was like, wait a second. Yeah, no. It's been a few years since this one came out, but I need her to write more books because I love Gillian Flynn.
I loved The Grown Up. A little change in pace. I was like, okay, girl. It wasn't like it wasn't like Gone Girl. It was just like full blown web of lies. This felt more like a. I don't want to. Can I? I don't. It felt like a very short character study about like perspective. For one person, where it's like the house is haunted. Oh, I thought it was full of shit. Versus a creepy kid who's like, I was warning you, like something's up. I love that. I love a good twist. So
yeah, I love that she's so like her main character in that story is so crass, and it's almost like you're getting slapped in the face by this character, just like introducing
right away. I remember that first chapter, all right. Yeah. You can't forget it.
Yeah.
But also, I think I also like following characters that people probably would pass by or not think much of initially. I love like following a character who's like the quiet one in the background, but their imagination or like what they're feeling is like dark. I love that. There's a show I want to watch where it was like a girl where like she's like really quiet, no one really pays attention to her. And it turns out that like she snaps one day and she's a serial killer. But she's so quiet, and like I think it's called like it's but from the same actress who did Sweet Bitter. She was also in Arcane. But she's this actress. She looks very like ethereal. Her name's Ella Purnell, and she was in this show recently where it was called Sweet Pea. And she's this really quiet girl. A quiet woman is pushed to violence after personal trauma, leading her to commit murders in a dark, humorous, and shocking way. It came out in 2024, and it's on Hulu and Stars, and I've always wanted to watch it because the actress herself looks so unassuming.
What is it called?
It's called Sweet Pea. It's got one season, and it's a thriller.
Okay, on Hulu. Maybe I'll check it out.
Yes, it's called Sweet Pea. And I remember I was telling my friend, I'm like, oh, I read these thrillers and like I'm waiting for a show or a movie that matches that energy of like the girl that no one really pays attention to for real. And like what would actually happen if she became like a Dexter, but doesn't have the build and like the forensic knowledge of that. Like how would that actually work? My girl had a box cutter and a dream. Like she was focused. I was like, dang girl. But I also want to read Mocha. I that recently got released, and I really want to read that.
That's definitely on my TBR coming up too.
Heck yeah! I've been warned that it's super dark, and there are links to a real life event that inspired the book. So I do want to give a heads up to folks like that, where you think, oh, it's fiction. It's like, no, there's a real life crime that inspired partially the story. Yeah. So I mentioned it to my girlfriend who hates creepy stuff, and she is a huge K-pop fan. And I mentioned to her the crime, and she's like, yeah, I heard about that a few years ago. I was like, oh. And she steers very far away from that stuff. So she was like, yeah, it was huge. So
for anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about the author, Mocha is by the author Monica Kim. That's her name, right? Monica Kim?
Yes. She did the eyes the best part?
Mm-hmm. And she's Korean, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the crime was related to like spy cameras, and it's also related to like a real life crime. I think it was called like Burning Sun, I think. And it was one of those things where I was like, if you like podcasts like Rotten Mango, another wonderful I love Rotten Mango. I think she did a breakdown of that. Once again, a super bright, like seemingly warm, bubbly person who's able to dive into these really dark topics. I'm like, good for you, girl. I need to sleep tonight. What? I have to take breaks. Yeah, I'll watch Rotten Mango, and then I'll have to watch like British Bake Off after, and I'm like, I need to refresh. I love
that she like always starts with like this like random tale part of the story, and then she like gets it out, and you're like, why is she talking about people who make answering machines or like whatever the random thing is, and then she like ties it back in. She's really good at that.
She is. I would read a book if she wrote it. You know what? I have the perfect book recommendation for you specifically.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping you haven't read it yet. If you have, we have to fangirl about it soon because it's so freaking good. And it's a debut. It's Night Watcher by Daphne Wollstonecraft.
Not read it.
Heck yeah. Okay. Daphne Wollstonecraft is actually a true crime podcaster herself. Her and her partner. They have a podcast called Going South or Going West. They're based in the Pacific Northwest. Funny enough, my mom's also in Seattle. So I've been there, the moody, rainy setting, Twilight baseball, all the vibes. But Going West is they follow like every episode's a different true crime episode. They do it with a lot of respect and care. And it's the boyfriend and Daphne Wollstonecraft going back and forth during their podcast in real life. She wrote a book called Night Watcher. Okay. And this is her first book she's ever released. The book has a podcast element, like a radio show. The audio quality was amazing. You should definitely go for it. It's a huge part of the book. I think you'd like it for the mixed media. But Daphne Wollstonecraft also has a letter to readers that's it. When you first listen to the episode of Night Watcher, like when you start the book, Daphne Wollstonecraft, she has a letter to readers pretty much saying like her family has an element, unfortunately, of loss because of a crime. And while writing this book, she has a lot of heart and a lot of respect for victims. So it's not just violence for violence sake. And the story follows a woman whose father was a radio star, and he passes the show down to her, Night Watcher, when he retires and becomes an author later on. And the episode starts, like the book literally starts on a podcast episode, Night Watcher. And someone calls in and says, like, there's a ghost in my house. There's a man with a mask, like a ghost in my house. And the woman at first is like, you know, people call about creepy episodes sometimes, like people bullshit. And this woman is like, I'm a child therapist. Like, there's a man in my house. Like, she's hiding in a closet. And as she's describing this man's mask, like a ghost or whatever, the main character has a recollection of something that happened in her childhood related to a crime. And she survived it. And then the woman screams, the call ends. And from there, you follow the story. It is awesome. It is an amazing debut. I will always have a soft spot for a strong debut. And Daphne has another book coming out, I want to say later this year. Don't quote me. But yeah, I'm excited. Her second book's already coming out very soon. So I'm excited. But she's one of those dream authors I'd love to interview one day. Fingers crossed. But Night Watcher, I did an episode for it. It was half non-spoiler, half spoiler talk. So you can always come back and listen to the spoiler talk if you want to hear it after you've read the book. But man, like that was one of those books that I read and I was like, I would recommend this to any friend or family member, or whatever. It was a really good thriller. And I think you'd like it, especially because there's a lot of like the actual author is a podcaster herself.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah. Again, that was
Night Watcher by Daphne Wollstonecraft.
And then it looks like her other book is coming out in July, The Season of Sinking.
Yes.
This one.
Yes. I'm so excited for it. Like,
nice.
I love her writing. It was really good. Like this book, like Her Last Breath, felt like the dread and the anxiety it was trying to make us feel is what Night Watcher was able to accomplish. Like everyone, I assume, like lives, like let's say you live in a neighborhood in an apartment complex. You've never seen someone walking across the street in the dark and they walk past the street light. You can't see their face, and you see a figure. That is what Night Watcher accomplishes. But instead of them walking past your house, they stand still.
Ew.
They're on a sidewalk. It's public property. They ain't doing anything wrong, but it's fucking creepy. That is what this does. Quickly. Nice. Oh, it is so good.
All right.
It is so good. And it's a debut too. And the letter from the author in the beginning is truly heartbreaking and chilling. Ooh. So it sets the tone right away. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
It's like one of those things where like true crime. It's hard because you know it's true. Yeah. And it hurts. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but it's very, very good. It's a lot of respect. So I like that.
Nice. Yeah. I think a lot of good recommendations here.
I try to recommend as many books as I can. So yeah.
Let's move on to, I know I've kept you for so long. I feel
it's
like
okay.
Let's to like if you have anything you want to talk about that you have if anybody this is your first time being introduced to Alyssa, you want to go check out her channel, her podcast, all that. Tell us where to find you and anything that you might have coming up that you want to share with us.
Yes. So my name is Alyssa. I'm at Stories and Spoilers podcast. You can find me on Instagram under the same name. There's periods in between each word. I tried to break it up so you could read it clearly, but now it's annoying when I try to market myself. And I'm also on Spotify and YouTube. I have a really fun episode coming out this summer. I wanted to make Summerween a combination of like horror, thrillers, and then a few refreshing episodes in between where people can share their top few books of the year so far. I also every month try to have an episode called Books for the Soul where I interview folks of color, from book businesses to authors, indie authors, and also larger authors. That means a lot to me. And as a queer podcaster myself, I also try to really highlight a lot of queer stories from thriller, horror, sci-fi, romance. It's really important to me to just be as broad as I can. I have an interview with Johnny Comte coming out this summer. I also am really hoping to have Rachel Harrison on this year. Fingers crossed if she's free.
That would be insane.
Yeah, I'm like trying to schedule, fingers crossed. I also want to bring in Erin E. Adams. I loved her debut, Jackal, hopefully.
I did too. And her other book keeps getting pushed back and it's driving me insane.
Yes.
Her new book. It was supposed to come out in like
One of
January,
Us.
I think.
Yeah, One of Us.
And now I think it's 2027.
Yes, it comes out in 2 years. It was actually on one of my, I make this big list at, usually I try to do by the end of the year, if not by the next following year. But I have this big list of my most anticipated books of the year. And this is a personal thing, but I like to try to reach out to authors on that list so that after I read the book, you can listen to the episode and you don't have to read it. I interviewed the authors about what inspired them to write those books, their personal inspiration behind the stories, what they want readers to know beforehand. I try to get those messages directly from the authors to my listeners because I want people to feel like when they finally pick up the book that you almost get to talk to the author yourself before. You work so hard for the money you have. And when you do end up buying these books, a hardcover, a softcover, things are pricey. It can get kind of expensive. And it's nice to hear directly from the author about what inspired the story. Even if it's a romance or a sci-fi or horror, there is a person behind that book. And even if it wasn't your cup of tea or it was your favorite book of the year, there's a reason you wanted it. And I want to get the chance of talking to that person and sharing it with people so that they can read the book and feel like they also had that experience too. So yeah, that's what I'm up to. But that book, I also do a list of my top favorite books of the year, period. It is very hard to make. So as I lead up to that episode, I like to interview people about their favorite books of the year throughout the year so far. So that's what I like to do. Yeah, that's what I'm up to. So yeah.
I like it. Okay, and then I have all of Alyssa's links in the description down below too. So if y'all want to just go pop down there, you can find her stuff there. And then just as another quick reminder, it's funny that you brought up Tremblay's Head Full of Ghosts, because I honestly was between this one and Head Full of Ghosts. And I'm picking this one.
Head Full of Ghosts was so good. That was a great book.
That is a good one.
So deserves more love, man. I wish people brought it up more. That's a good book. So is Sharp Objects.
Yeah. But yeah, don't forget July's book is going to be Sharp Objects. This one, I think, since there's not as much notice, obviously this is going to be a backlist, so it's going to be a little bit easier to get a hold of, get from your library, and just easier to find in general because it's been out for a while. So hopefully there are people left that still haven't read this and want to reread it with me and talk about it. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. Thank you so much for joining me today and for coming and talking and having so many different perspectives to bring to us. I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. This was an absolute blast. I've been a fan of your YouTube for years. And I'm just so grateful I finally got to talk to you and just discuss spooky, amazing books very soon. I hope to have you on the podcast very soon as well.
Yes, absolutely. So look out for that. And I guess I'm gonna sign off, y'all. Don't forget that life is short. So read Riley. I always do this wrong because I have to hit like 4 buttons to end the stream. Read Riley.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye. Cheers.